Prabhupada Nectar. Evening massage was not as thorough as his pre-noon one. Just massage his legs, squeeze them up and down from the knee down to the foot, then the foot and toes also. He taught the technique. He said it gave some relief. At these times, he was prone to sweet reflections. Was he sleeping? Sometimes. Or he would speak something. The servant might have to stay up a considerable while. Usually it was in a darkened room. In Australia, at the end of the day, after he and the devotees had marched a great distance in the Rath Yatra parade, Prabhupada complimented his servant on his dancing so nicely in the parade. It was also during a night massage that he told another servant the story of how he got a special pair of shoes as a child from England, a gift from his father. Also, he would bring up the philosophy and the inability of mudhas to take to it. To us, Prabhupada was the mystical ocean. His utterances were not coming by our dictation. Yet we were also as close as possible, right by his side, touching his body, connected by speech, so he was tangibly with us. And yet he was like a mystical ocean, and his purity created an aloofness for those who were still impure. One didn't even dare to think, what is Prabhupada thinking? In the dark room during the evening massage, his servant used to want to take rest. Now he may consider what a fool he was. If he had another chance, would he be the same fool? No one likes to be the servant. We want to be the master. But Prabhupada kept us in check. He made us devotees. One morning in Berkeley, Srila Prabhupada was walking on the university campus. Sannyasi disciples and others were there, and also Krishna Das Adhikari. Krishna Das had left the movement and grown long hair, but he had recently shown a revival of interest and was now walking with Prabhupada. His questions were full of his various doubts. At the very end of the walk, somehow the topic of feeling separation from the spiritual master came up. Krishna Das asked, "You must always be feeling separation from your spiritual master." He was hoping to prompt Srila Prabhupada to talk about his feelings of separation from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Prabhupada was silent. Krishna Das asked the question again. I suppose you must always be feeling separation from your spiritual master. Prabhupada then answered, that you do not require. In other words, that's none of your business to ask. That was in parentheses. In other words, that's none of your business to ask. Then he got in his car and left. When Srila Prabhupada visited Hawaii, he had to deal with controversial persons who claimed to be his followers and yet denounced the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Prabhupada wanted to encourage everyone to go on chanting Hare Krishna. Yet, at the same time, he wanted to clearly establish that his sincere follower works within ISKCON. The questions and answers after his lectures in Hawaii often dealt with these matters. What is ISKCON? Asked a long-haired beach boy wearing a japa bead bag. ISKCON? Srila Prabhupada replied. It is a simple thing, you do not know? Then he described what each letter in the acronym ISKCON stood for. We have a worldwide society, so we say international. Well, are you ISKCON? The boy asked. This was a loaded question. The devotees had been preaching that Srila Prabhupada was ISKCON because one cannot refuse service to ISKCON and yet claim to serve Srila Prabhupada. But the anti-ISKCON party had argued that Srila Prabhupada and ISKCON were different. Prabhupada was pure and transcendental. ISKCON was corrupt, a mere organization. Srila Prabhupada started to laugh. I am not ISKCON, he said. I am a member of ISKCON. Then he looked at his disciple, who was the GBC secretary for Hawaii. Prabhupada pointed at him and said, and he is a member of ISKCON. Then he pointed to the ISKCON Hawaii Temple president. And he is a member of ISKCON. We are all members of ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Almost everyone present cried out, Jai. Then Srila Prabhupada looked back, smiling. There was no further challenge to his perfect, humble reply. In Bombay, devotees were able to freely see Srila Prabhupada and ask their questions. But Panchadravida Swami sensed that as the movement grew, he might not be able to maintain such an intimate relationship with his spiritual master. One day he entered Srila Prabhupada's apartment and revealed his doubt. I don't understand, Panchadravida said. ISKCON is such a big society. How can I understand that I have a personal relationship with you? If I am somewhere halfway around the world and I am, for instance, sweeping or washing a floor in a temple, how can I know that I am serving you personally? Yes, ISKCON is so big, Prabhupada answered simply, but I am so small. Panchadravida immediately felt satisfied, but Srila Prabhupada explained it further. You speak of serving in the temple somewhere, said Prabhupada, but actually, you don't have to do anything. I am responsible directly. I have to maintain all the temples, see that the floors are swept, the pots washed, and that everything is clean in all the ISKCON temples all over the world. But I cannot do it all by myself. It is like an arti ceremony. I may be offering the arti, but I ask you, please hand me the fan, so that I can offer it to Radha Krishna. In the same way, I am asking you to help me in the temple by preaching or sweeping the floor. Do you understand? Wow. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, Text 16 and 17. Nishyamya Prishtam Ayantam Vasudevo Mahamanaha Akruraschograsenascha Ramaschadbhuta Vikramaha Prajumnascharudeshnascha Sambojam Bhavati Sutaha Paharsha Vigochashita Shayanasana Bhojanaha. Translation. On hearing that the most dear Krishna was approaching Dwarkadam, magnanimous Vasudeva, Akrura, Ugrasena, Balaram, the superhumanly powerful, Prajumna, Charudeshna, and Samba, the son of Jambavati, all extremely happy, abandoned resting, sitting, and dining. Purport. Vasudeva, son of King Shurasena, husband of Devaki, and father of Lord Shri Krishna. He is the brother of Kunti and father of Subhadra. Subhadra was married with her cousin Arjuna, and this system is still prevalent in some parts of India. Vasudeva was appointed minister of Ugrasena, and later on he married 8 daughters of Ugrasena's brother Devak. Okay. Devaki is only one of them. Kamsa was his brother-in-law, and Vasudeva accepted voluntary imprisonment by Kamsa on mutual agreement to deliver the 8th son of Devaki. This was foiled by the as maternal uncle of the Pandavas. He took active parts in the purificatory process of the Pandavas. He sent for the priest Kashyapa. At the Shatasringa Parvata, and he executed the functions. When Krishna appeared within the bars of Kamsa's prison house, he was transferred by Vasudeva to the house of Nanda Maharaj, the foster father of Krishna at Gokula. Krishna disappeared along with Baladev prior to the disappearance of Vasudeva, and Arjuna, Vasudev's nephew, undertook the charge of the funeral ceremony after Vasudev's disappearance. Akrura, the commander-in-chief of the Vrishni dynasty and a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Akrura attained success in devotional service to the Lord by the one single process of offering prayers. He was the husband of Sutani, daughter of Ahuki. He supported Arjuna when Arjuna took Subhadra forcibly away by the will of Krishna. Both Krishna and Akrura went to see Arjuna after his successful kidnapping of Subhadra. Both of them presented dowries to Arjuna after this incident. Akrura was present also when Abhimanyu, the son of Subhadra, was married with Uttara, the mother of Maharaj Parikshit. Ahuka, the father-in-law of Akrura, was not on good terms with Akrura, but both of them were devotees of the Lord. Interesting. Ugrasena, one of the powerful kings of the Vrishni dynasty and cousin of Maharaj Kunti Bhoja. His other name is Ahuka. His minister was Vasudeva, and his son was the powerful Kamsa. This Kamsa imprisoned his became the king of Mathura. By the grace of Lord Krishna and his brother Lord Baladev, Kamsa was killed. By the grace of Lord Krishna and his brother Lord Baladev, Kamsa was killed, and Ugrasena was reinstalled on the throne. When Shalva attacked the city of Dwarka, Ugrasena fought very valiantly and repulsed the enemy. Ugrasena inquired from Naradaji about the divinity of Lord Krishna. When the Yadu dynasty was to be vanquished, Ugrasena was entrusted with the iron lump produced from the womb of Samba. He cut the iron lump into pieces and then pasted it and mixed it up with the sea water on the coast of Dwarka. After this, he ordered complete prohibition within the city of Dwarka and the kingdom. He got salvation after his death. Baladev. He is the divine son of Vasudeva by his wife Rohini. He is also known as Rohini Nandana, the beloved son of Rohini. He was also entrusted to Nanda Maharaj along with his mother Rohini when Vasudeva embraced imprisonment by mutual agreement with Kamsa. So Nanda Maharaj is also the foster father of Baladev along with Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna and Lord Baladev were constant companions from their very childhood, although they were stepbrothers. He is the plenary manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he is as good and powerful as Lord Krishna. He belongs to the Vishnu Tattva, the principle of Godhead. He attended the Swayamvar ceremony of Draupadi along with Sri Krishna. When Subhadra was kidnapped by Arjuna by the organized plan of Sri Krishna, Baladev was very angry with Arjuna and wanted to kill him at once. Sri Krishna, for the sake of his dear friend, fell at the feet of Lord Baladev and implored him not to be so angry. Sri Baladev was thus satisfied. Similarly, he was once very angry with the Kauravas, and he wanted to throw their whole city into the depths of the Yamuna. But the Kaurava satisfied him by surrendering unto his divine lotus feet. He was actually the seventh son of Devaki prior to the birth of Lord Krishna, but by the will of the Lord he was transferred to the womb of Rohini to escape the wrath of Kamsa. His other name is therefore Sankarsana, who is also the plenary portion of Sri Baladev. Because he is as powerful as Lord Krishna and can bestow spiritual power to the devotees, he is therefore known as Baladev. In the Vedas also it is enjoined that no one can know the Supreme Lord without being favored by Baladev. Bala means spiritual strength, not physical. Some less intelligent persons interpret Bala as the strength of the body, but no one can have spiritual realization by physical strength. Physical strength ends with and therefore the strength obtained by Baladeva is never wasted. The strength is eternal. The strength is eternal, and thus Baladeva is the original spiritual master of all devotees. Sri Baladeva was also a class friend of Lord Krishna. Lord Sri Krishna is a student of Sandipani Muni. In his childhood, he killed many asuras along with Sri Krishna, and specifically, he killed the Dhenukasura at Talavan. During the Kurukshetra battle, he remained neutral, and he tried his best not to bring about the fight. He was in favor of Duryodhana, but still he remained neutral. When there was a club fight between Duryodhana and Bhimasena, he was present on the spot. He was angry at Bhimasena when the latter struck Duryodhana on the thigh or below the belt, and he wanted to retaliate the unfair action. Lord Sri Krishna saved Bhima from his wrath. But he left the place at once, being disgusted at Bhimasena, and after his departure, Duryodhana fell to the ground to meet his death. The funeral ceremony of Abhimanyu, the son of Arjuna, was performed by him, as he was the maternal uncle. It was possible to be performed by any one of the Pandavas, who were all overwhelmed with grief. At the last stage, he departed from this world by producing a great white snake from his mouth, and thus he was carried by Sheshanag in the shape of a serpent. Prajuna, incarnation of Kamadev, or according to others, incarnation of Sanat Kumar. Interesting. Born as the son of personality of Godhead Lord Shri Krishna and Lakshmi Devi Srimati Rukmini, the principal queen at Dwarka. He was one of those who went to congratulate Arjuna upon his marrying Subhadra. He was one of the great generals who fought with Shalva, and while fighting with him, he became unconscious on the battlefield. His charioteer brought him back to the camp from the battlefield, and for this action he was very sorry and rebuked his charioteer. However, he fought again with Shalva and was victorious. He heard all about the different demigods from Naradaji. He was one of the 4 plenary expansions of Lord Sri Krishna. He is the third one. He is the third one. He inquired from his father, Sri Krishna, about the glories of the Brahmanas. During the fratricidal war amongst the descendants of Yadu, he died at the hand of Bhoja, another king of the Vrishnis. After his death, he was installed in his original position. Charudeshna, another son of Lord Sri Krishna and Rukmini Devi. He was also present during the Swayamvar ceremony of Draupadi. He was a great warrior like his brothers and father. He fought with Vivinidaka and killed him in the fight. Samba, one of the great heroes of the Yadu dynasty, and the son of Lord Sri Krishna by his wife Jambavati. He learned the military art of throwing arrows from Arjuna, and he became a member of parliament during the time of Maharaj Yudhishthir. He was present during the Rajasuya Yagya of Maharaj Yudhishthir, when all the Vrishnis were assembled during the time of Pravash Yagya. His glorious activities were narrated by Satyaki before Lord Baladev. He was also present, along with his father, Lord Shri Krishna, during the Ashwamedha Yagya performed by Yudhishthir. He was presented before some rishis falsely dressed as a pregnant woman by his brothers. And in fun, he asked the rishis what he was going to deliver. The rishis replied that he would deliver a lump of iron, which would be the cause of fratricidal war in the family of Yadu. The next day in the morning, Samba delivered a large lump of iron, which was entrusted with Ugrasena for necessary action. Actually, later on, there was the foretold fratricidal war, and Samba died in that war. So all these sons of Lord Krishna left their respective palaces, and leaving aside all engagements, including lying down, sitting and dining, hasten toward their exalted Father. Text 18. They hastened toward the Lord on chariots with brahmanas bearing flowers. Before them were elephants, emblems of good fortune. Conch shells and bugles were sounded, and Vedic hymns were chanted. Thus they offered their respects, which were saturated with affection. Purport. The Vedic way of receiving a great personality creates an atmosphere of respect, which is saturated with affection and veneration for the person received. The auspicious atmosphere of such a reception depends on the paraphernalia described above, including conch shells, flowers, incense, decorated elephants, and the qualified brahmanas reciting verses from the Vedic literatures. Such a program of reception is full of sincerity on the part of both the receiver and the received. Text 19. At the same time, many hundreds of well-known prostitutes began to proceed on various vehicles. They were all very eager to meet the Lord, and their beautiful faces were decorated with dazzling earrings, which enhanced the beauty of their foreheads. Purport. We may not hate even the prostitutes if they are devotees of the Lord. Even to date, there are many prostitutes in great cities of India who are sincere devotees of the Lord. By tricks of chance, one may be obliged to adopt a profession which is not very admirable in society, but that does not hamper one in executing devotional service to the Lord. Devotional service to the Lord is uncheckable in all circumstances. It is understood herewith that even in those days, about 5,000 years ago, there were prostitutes in a city like Dwarka where Lord Krishna resided. This means that prostitutes are necessary citizens for the proper upkeep of society. The government opens wine shops, but this does not mean that the government encourages the drinking of wine. The idea is that there is a class of men who will drink at any cost, and it has been experienced that prohibition in great cities encourage illicit smuggling of wine. Similarly, men who are not satisfied at home require such concessions, and if there is no prostitute, then such low men will induce others into prostitution. It is better that prostitutes be available in the marketplace so that the sanctity of society can be maintained. It is better to maintain a class of prostitutes than to encourage prostitutes within society. The real reformation is to enlighten all people to become devotees of the Lord, and that will check all kinds of deteriorating factors of life. Sri Bilva Mangala Thakur, a great acharya of the Vishnu Swami Vaishnav sect, in his householder life was overly attached to a prostitute who happened to be a devotee of the Lord. One night, when the Thakur came to Chintamani's house in torrents of rain and thunder, Chintamani was astonished to see how the Thakur could come on such a dreadful night after crossing a foaming river which was full of waves. She said to Thakur Bilvamangala that his attraction for the flesh and bone of an insignificant woman like her would be properly utilized if it could be diverted to the devotional service of the Lord, to achieve attraction for the transcendental beauty of the Lord. It was a momentous hour for the Thakur, and he took a turn towards spiritual realization by the words of a prostitute. Later on, the Thakur accepted the prostitute as his spiritual master, and in several places of his literary works, he has glorified the name of Chintamani, who showed him the right path. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:32, the Lord says, O son of Pritha, even the low-born Chandalas and those who are born in a family of unbelievers, and even the prostitutes shall attain perfection of life if they take shelter of unalloyed devotional service to me. Because in the path of devotional service, there are no impediments due to degraded birth and occupation. The path is open for everyone who agrees to follow it. It appears that the prostitutes of Dwarka, who were so eager to meet the Lord, were all his unalloyed devotees, and thus they were all on the path of salvation, according to the above version of the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, the only reformation that is necessary in society is to make an organized effort to turn the citizens into devotees of the Lord, and thus all good qualities, the denizens of heaven, will overtake them in their own way. On the other hand, those who are non-devotees have no good qualifications whatsoever, however they may be materially advanced. The difference is that the devotees of the Lord are on the path of liberation, whereas the non-devotees are on the path of further entanglement and material bondage. The criterion of advancement of civilization is whether the people are educated and advance in the path of salvation. Text 20. Expert dramatist, artists, dancers, singers, historians, genealogists, and learned speakers all gave their respective contributions, being inspired by the superhuman pastimes of the Lord. Thus they proceeded on and on. Purport. It appears that 5,000 years ago, the society also needed the services of the dramatists, artists, dancers, singers, historians, genealogists, public speakers, etc. Dancers, singers, and dramatic artists are mostly hailed from the Shudra community, whereas the learned historians, genealogists, and public speakers hailed from the Brahmana community. All of them belonged to a particular caste, and they became so trained in their respective families. Such dramatists, dancers, singers, historians, genealogists, and public speakers would dwell on the subject of the Lord's superhuman activities in different ages and millenniums, and not on ordinary events. Nor were they in chronological order. All the Puranas are historical facts described only in relation with the Supreme Lord in different ages and times, as well as on different planets also. Therefore, we do not find any chronological order. The modern historians, therefore, cannot catch up the link, and thus they unauthoritatively remark that the Puranas are all imaginary stories only. Even 100 years ago in India, all dramatic performances were centered around the superhuman activities of the Supreme Lord. The common people would be verily entertained by the performances of dramas, and yatra parties played wonderfully on the superhuman activities of the Lord, and thus even the illiterate agriculturist would be a participant in the knowledge of Vedic literature, despite a considerable lack of academic qualifications. Therefore, expert players and drama dancers, singers, speakers, etc., are required for the spiritual enlightenment of the common man. The genealogists would give account completely of the descendants of a particular family. Even at the present moment, the guides and the pilgrimage sites of India submit a complete account of genealogical tables before a newcomer. This wonderful act sometimes attracts more customers to receive such important information. Text 21. Lord Krishna, the personality Godhead, approached them and offered due honor and respect to each and every one of the friends, relatives, citizens, and all others who came to receive and welcome him. Purport. The Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, is neither impersonal nor an inert object unable to reciprocate the feelings of his devotees. Here the word yata vidhi, or just as it behooves, is significant. He reciprocates just as it behooves with his different types of admirers and devotees. Of course, the pure devotees are of one type only because they have no other object for service but the Lord, and therefore the Lord also reciprocates with such pure devotees, just as it behooves, namely, he is always attentive to all the matters of his pure devotees. There are others who designate him as impersonal, and so the Lord also does not take any personal interest. He satisfies everyone in terms of one's development of spiritual consciousness. And a sense of such reciprocation is exhibited here with his different welcomers. Text 22. The Almighty Lord greeted everyone present by bowing his head, exchanging greetings, embracing, shaking hands, looking and smiling, giving assurances, and awarding benedictions even to the lowest in rank. Purport. To receive the Lord Sri Krishna, there were all grades of population, beginning from Vasudev, Ugrasena, and Gargamuni, the father, grandfather, and teacher, down to the prostitutes and chandalas who are accustomed to eat dogs. And every one of them was properly greeted by the Lord in terms of rank and position. As pure living entities, all are the separated parts and parcels of the Lord, and thus no one is alien by his eternal relation. Such pure living entities are graded differently in terms of contamination of the modes of material nature, but the Lord is equally affectionate to all his parts and parcels despite material gradation. He does to recall these materialistic living beings back to his kingdom, and intelligent persons take advantage of this facility offered by the personality of Godhead to all living beings. Intelligent persons take advantage of this often. Okay. Hmm. No one is rejected by the Lord from the kingdom of God, and it remains within the living being to accept this or not. Text 23. Then the Lord personally entered the city, accompanied by elderly relatives and invalid brahmanas with their wives, all offering benedictions and singing the glories of the Lord. Others also praised the glories of the Lord. Purport: the brahmanas in society were never attentive to banking money for future retired life. When they were old invalids, they used to approach the assembly of the kings, and simply by praising the glorious deeds performed by the kings, along with their wives, they would be provided with all necessities of life. Such brahmanas were not, so to speak, flatterers of the kings, but the kings were actually glorified. The kings were actually glorified by their actions, and they were sincerely still more encouraged in pious acts by such brahmanas in a dignified way. Lord Sri Krishna is worthy of all glory.